There's a lot of talk on the internet about land trusts. So today I want to talk about land trusts, what it is, and why you don't actually want one, because there's a better solution available to you under South Dakota trust law. So let's get into it. All right, so a land trust. A lot of times people are looking for ways to keep their real estate transactions private. A solution for this has been the land trust. And so the phrase land trust, I think, is often generically used. There's only a few states that actually have land trust on their books that are actually written into statute. So that doesn't mean that they're not recognized in all states. It just means that there is a specific law related to land trusts in certain states. Again, I don't know them all off the top of my head. Florida stands out. Illinois stands out as well. I think Illinois was the first state to have these. But again, the idea is to keep the transaction private, meaning if I want to keep my name off a deed of a piece of real estate that I'm buying, how do I keep my name off of it? And the solution has been through a land trust. So the way that it works is I set up this land trust, which is a revocable trust. And rather than naming myself as the trustee, because the trustee's name would go on the deed for the piece of real estate, you name someone else. So you basically have a contract with someone else who can serve as trustee, and that person will enter the land contract or the real estate contract on behalf of the trust. And then once that transaction has completed, then you would be named as the trustee, and then you could continue to manage the assets, the real estate of that trust. Again, it's a revocable trust, so it's really, really flexible. But the idea here is that you're essentially hiring or naming an agent to act on your behalf, and then you have this holding entity, the trust, to be able to manage your real estate, your other assets. Why is this not a good solution? It's not a good solution for a few reasons. Number one, you're having to rely on someone else to do what you want, right? So that's the first issue. You have to hire or name someone that you trust, someone that you think is actually competent enough to take on this transaction. Now, that may not be a problem for some people, but for other people it is. And so I've seen videos on the internet where, and it's an attorney saying he or she is setting up these land trusts for other people, and then the client names the attorney as the trustee so the attorney can enter the transaction. Again, you're kind of just at the mercy of that person that you're naming as trustee, hoping that they actually do what they're supposed to do. So a lot of things could go sideways. Now, it may not, but the point is a lot of things could go sideways. The other issue related to this is that while there is privacy, there is no asset protection. The land trust is a revocable trust. So a lot of people think, oh, I have asset protection because this is a trust. I think that is greatly misunderstood. There is not any asset protection. Now, if you have an LLC inside the trust, maybe that would add a layer of asset protection, but it's not providing asset protection from personal creditors. Okay, if you want to accomplish that, you have to have an irrevocable trust. So let's just recap real quick. The two issues are, one, you have to give up the ability to enter the transaction to a third party, right? You could be related to that third party. If you don't have someone that you trust or that you can enter that's related to you, then you would name someone else. But again, the issue is that you're giving up that authority to someone else, and a lot of things could go sideways. You don't have any legal control over that person once they become the trustee. So a lot of abuses or negligence or whatever it may be could come up. Number two, there isn't asset protection. So you give up control, there's no asset protection. The solution for all of this is using a South Dakota directed trust. All right, so you could set up a self-settled, you yourself are setting up an irrevocable trust in South Dakota for your own benefit. So as a quick reminder, not all states offer self-settled irrevocable trust, meaning you can't set it up for your own benefit and move your own assets into it. South Dakota, the premier trust jurisdiction in the US, allows you to do this. And that's one of the reasons why it is the best trust jurisdiction. So you can set up for your own benefit. You do name someone else as the trustee, but this is the key distinction here. That trustee, it is an administrative trustee only. They do not actually manage any assets. Under South Dakota law, they do not manage any assets. They're there to administer the trust, and that is it. You can name yourself as in a particular role, the investment trust advisor role. Under law, that reserves all of the ability to manage the assets to yourself. Okay, it's a directed trust. This is important. You as the investment advisor direct the trustee when to enter into transactions. The trustee cannot enter any type of transactions unless you direct them to. So by law, the trustee has to be directed by the investment advisor, again, you, to enter into any transactions. The administrative trustee cannot do anything unless they're told to. Completely different setup. There's actually no way for the administrative trustee to go rogue, unlike with the land trust. So this is the solution. But further, you also have asset protection with an irrevocable trust, right? So any type of personal creditors that come after you would have to pierce the trust, and because if you are following the rules of the fraudulent conveyance transfers correctly, then they're not going to be able to do so. So you have that privacy because your name's not going on anything. You're directing the trustee to enter into the transactions. They can only do it if you tell them to. There's asset protection because it's an irrevocable trust. It's the best of all worlds. So don't use a land trust. Use a self-settled irrevocable trust set up in South Dakota that has this directed trust structure. And to make things more complicated, if you really did want to use a revocable trust for whatever reason, you could still do the same directed trust structure in South Dakota. You wouldn't have asset protection, but you would have ultimate flexibility with that trust, and maybe that's important to you. But you would have that privacy, you wouldn't have asset protection, but it would be a directed trust structure where you don't have to give up all control of the trust, but you can serve as the investment trust advisor and direct the trustee when to enter those transactions. So depending on your circumstances, it might make more sense for an irrevocable trust, it might make more sense for a revocable trust, but either way, the most secure way to do that is under the directed trust laws of South Dakota. So don't do a land trust in some other state.